subscribe and, you know, like the video. The DSCC will not invest in the main Senate race if Plattner remains on the ballot. It's a wrap. The DSCC was already looking for any reason to pull the ripcord out, and this is more than enough reason. It's such such a valid reason that I'm in agreement with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's over. They are pressuring him to drop out so that they can replace it. Hopefully, what? Okay, but you're not offering an immediate substitute solution with progressive policies. Even if you condemn Plattner, you're unironically giving permission to his opponents. No, plenty of Dems in the Epstein files, by the way. Wait, what? I don't even know what point you were trying to make, man. I don't get it.
His existence, but that was when we actually met.
And what'd you think of him?
At first, I thought he was great. You know, he's very well spoken. He's intelligent. He's charming. You know, I thought a lot of good things. We had a great first date. It went and flowed really well.
He has described himself as self-medicating with alcohol.
Yeah.
He has described himself that way.
Yeah.
So I would think maybe that would have reared its head.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's something that I think a lot of people are desensitized to, in general, heavy drinking, and especially out of the relationship that I had just come out of. So it wasn't anything abnormal to me. I remember we were out one night and he was drinking, and that's when he told me that he has PTSD.
When the New York Times story came out, you were in it, but you didn't go as far in that story as you are today.
Yeah.
Why not?
I didn't want to. I didn't want to have to violate this huge level of privacy to my own life to be able to infer that this person is not honest and trustworthy. I felt really protective of my own privacy throughout this whole process. And it got to a point where my privacy was no longer going to happen. And that was when I kind of just made the decision that, like, I'm going to say my piece and get it out there. I had tried to give the impression that something, you know, worse happened. And that's when it was like, I refused to comment further.
You definitely alluded to a bad night.
Yeah.
So bad that you never saw him again afterwards.
Yeah.
But just to underline the point, you're not coming forward because you have any political motivation.
No, not at all. That was actually one of the huge reasons that I didn't come forward and still struggled. Like, that was a huge moral conflict to feel like.
Because you'd like a Democrat to be in the Senate.
Yeah, yeah. I like the things that he speaks about. They're important. They're important to people. I'm one of those people.
But at the end of the day, you feel he's not being honest.
He's not being honest, no.
And we should note, this is 2021 we're talking about. It's only 5 years ago. Tell me about that. When was it?
It was at the end of 2021. I remember it being shortly after I moved back into my winter home, because that is where it happened. And it was a night where him and I were texting back and forth, and he had taken something that I said as an invitation. And that's not how I meant it, and I quickly clarified. And he sent a message back indicating that he would come over. And I said, no, don't come over. Like, I'm not in the mood, don't come over. And I was more stern with that message. And then I didn't hear back from him. So I thought that that meant he got the message or gave up on it or whatnot. And so like half an hour later, I heard a noise outside my door. And then he came in. He just came into my house. It was unlocked. I live in an area where you don't usually have to lock your doors. I do now. So he came in, and I realized, okay, he didn't listen. He's in my home. And
yeah, that's actually a crazy take. Things are so bad in the U.S. that she was going to vote for her. That's how insane American politics is right now, because that's the other side. That she literally was like, I probably shouldn't come out about my credible rape accusation and maybe even might vote for my rape, because at least he's not a child rape like the president allegedly could be. American politics is now a sequence of insane decisions where on the one hand you're like, well, do I want my rape in office? Well, maybe he's going to be in support of Medicare for all, and he's anti-Israel, whereas the other side is also rape. Some of them defenders of child rape. So I guess we got to weigh the options, like which rape is the lesser evil. The lesser evil rape trolley problem, which, by the way, ironically enough, if he was a centrist establishment Democrat, the very same people that are doing victory laps right now would literally be sincerely telling you to vote for the lesser evil. Just understand, that's the distinction between the left and people like irritated who work for the Clintons, okay? That's the difference. They did this with Andrew Cuomo. They unironically looked at Zohran Mamdani and said, you got to vote for Andrew Cuomo, the cop. What do you mean? Fast and free buses? No. He's Muslim. You got to vote for the cop. Liberals will look at you dead in the eye and tell you this is a lesser evil voter and then turn around and act all high and mighty. A certain flavor of Dem moderate couldn't wait even a day before turning this woman's harrowing story of being assaulted by a partner into a cudgel against anyone left of Chris Coons. What does any of this have to do with Michigan? Yeah, they're nasty little perverted freaks, by the way. They're cynical monsters. Just remember that.
I was laying on the couch. It was probably pretty late at night, and I was already ready for bed. I just wasn't in bed. And so he had kind of like jumped on top of me and indicated that he had intentions that were in nature. And I remember just at first being like, hey, I'm not into this. Like, I'm not in the mood. Like, don't, whatever. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I feel like I've said this enough times. Like, he's not listening to me or he's not hearing me. And I looked at him and I remember this very specific look in his eyes. And I could smell alcohol and I was like, this is different. He is heavily intoxicated. Like, and that blank stare was kind of like a photographic memory that I still have of that night. And his, that was me recognizing what the situation was. And this wasn't just like, oh, hey, somebody showed up and I'm going to tell him to go home. Like, he was heavily intoxicated, had intentions with me, and wasn't listening when I said no. And
you were saying, no, don't, over and over.
I remember, obviously I've had to recall a lot of this. This is something that I tried for many years to forget. And so small details, might get past me. But yes, I remember very specifically saying, I'm not into this. In my message previously, I had told him I had had an old back injury. And I remember saying, like,
yeah. Neera has officially won. She's the world historic goat of shamelessness, absolutely untoppable, the Michael Jordan of her craft. Say what you will, but the establishment of vets candidates, you worked for Bill Clinton. What is this? Cushbomb came out with a hot take. We interrupt your smugness orgy to remind that Janet Mills' stable, reliable, conventional, impeccable pedigree, college educated, got stomped 72% in the primaries. The unstable, unvetted, that's your brand. It sucks dick. It's true. God, people hate the Democratic establishment. These guys only running victory laps like this is probably going to draw more enmity. It's just crazy that they're like, they think they have any leg to stand on. I mean, yeah, Jake Tapper, this is his moment too. Fetterman calls Bernie to apologize. Oh, you, John Fetterman, you animal.
I'm not in this. I've had a long day. My back hurts. Like I was in that kind of mood, like the leave me alone mood. And there was a little bit of like scuffle, like altercation. The house that I live in has like this antique sewing kit that I kept beside the couch, and that got knocked over. He like backed into it, or something was maybe pushed into it by me, or something happened in that moment, and that thing got spilled. And
do you remember pushing him away?
I remember potentially pushing away with my legs, like, and then as he backed into it, it spilt, and all of the sewing needles and tape and yarn and everything went everywhere. Everything had fallen onto the floor, and in that moment, I evaluated my safety. Like, a drunk person who's blackout drunk is in my home, has these intentions with me, has already caused this amount of destruction and not listening to me. And so I basically felt safe as just complying.
You normally use protection.
Yeah.
And this time he didn't.
No.
And you didn't want that.
No.
And he didn't care.
No, I don't think my words were falling on deaf ears or drunk ears.
And you were still saying, don't do this, or I'm not into this?
I remember specifically him like grabbing at my chest, and I like hit his hand and I said, "Don't touch me." And I remember that during the altercation
And
specifically.
then he kept going.
Yeah, and it was this weird mix of like coming in and out of, I don't think consciousness is the word, but like coming to and kind of falling back into that drunken, I don't know what I'm doing state. And yeah, and he would apologize in those moments and then go back to doing what he was doing.
So he was aware that he was doing something wrong
Yeah.
and saying sorry.
I feel like he was in moments.
Is there any way that he thought this was consensual or no? Just because...
I don't believe that you can think that that scenario was consensual. You have to understand that that wasn't, when somebody is repeatedly, I mean, when somebody in the middle of it says, "Don't touch me," like,
Yeah.
that's obviously not consensual.
Especially if he's apologizing on occasion.
Yeah, yeah. And that next
Where did the ultras come in on this? Are they supporting Plattner now that you aren't? No, the ultras are running victory laps because they don't give a shit about anything. They're just like excited. Well, to be fair, they're correct at the end of the day. They were correct about his Graham Plattner red flags. Obviously, this was an unbelievable. Whether their analysis was based on, no, I'm good, thank you. Whether their analysis was based on, mischaracterizations or exaggerations, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Graham Plattner is credibly accused of rape, and these guys hated him, even if they landed on it because they hate every single veteran or whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. They were right about Graham Plattner. Their overemphasis on his red flags, or their hyper focus on, or their channeling of like Israeli propaganda at times doesn't mean anything, because it's the same as like Jake Tapper and all these other dipshits. Now, their focus is directed at myself instead of like, people who actually campaigned or interviewed Plattner or offered a lot more coverage to Plattner, because that's more so just like the Hasan tip, which is fine. I'll take it. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, do I have any issues saying the truth about my assessment? I gave you what my skepticism was, and I will continue doing the same exact commentary as I have done so far. I'll tell you when there's certain things that I find to be red flags. And at the end of the day, I will leave it up to you to make the assessment on whether or not he's worthy of voting for if you live in Maine. If you ask me, is Graham Plattner a better option than Susan Collins or than Janet Mills? Yeah, with the information that I had at the time, I would say that absolutely.